are still coming in. Appreciate you.
And I'll go ahead and make sure that I put in the description the actual start time of
I
this
want to
one.
introduce and thank Stephen's mother, Sandy Smith. Sandy, thank you for being here and joining us today. Sandy's grace and courage throughout this process shines through, and I hope that
Good
everyone
evening,
here
Cold
is committed to finding the truth and the
Thank you
peace
for
that she
hopping in.
deserves. I also would like to introduce Ericbland and Ronnie Richter, the founders of Bland Richter Law Firm. Eric is also the co-host of Cup of Justice, along with Mandy Matney, an award-winning journalist who has been an integral part of sharing Stephen's story through her podcast, The Murdaugh Murders and Cup of Justice. Mandy and her partner, Liz Farrell, were the first to write about Stephen's story and have continually put pressure on the fact that his death needs to be reinvestigated. They are a foundational reason that we are here today and have been incredible advocates for Sandy and Stephen Smith. Thank you all so much. Mandy's also here with us to answer any questions. With that being said, I want to give the floor to Ronnie, then Mandy, then Eric, and we will be taking questions at the end. So please keep your mics down. You can ask questions in the chat. I'll be fielding those. And I just want to thank you all for being here, and let's get started. Ronnie, floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning. This is Ronnie Richter, partner of the Bland Richter Law Firm. My partner, Ericbland, and I are honored today to announce our representation of Sandy Smith as it relates to a renewed investigation into the death of her son, Stephen Smith. On July 8th, 2015, at approximately 4 a.m., Stephen Smith's body was found in the middle of Sandy Run Road in Hampton County. There were no skid marks around his body. There was no vehicular debris found. His loosely tied shoes were still on his feet. His motor vehicle was about 3 miles away on Bamberg Road with the gas cap removed. And while it would appear that his car broke down and he had walked for help, he never called for help from the cell phone that was found on his body. Sandy Smith has never accepted the conclusion of the cursory investigation that followed his death that concluded that his death was a result of a hit and run. And it is our job today, it is our honor today to launch a new investigation into this death in the hopes of finding real answers to the questions that still persist surrounding Stephen's death.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Eric, we're going to pass the baton to you. Next off.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this press conference and the introduction of Bland Richter into this investigation. I've been a lawyer for 35 years, and many of our cases come to us after other people have represented clients. And so this is nothing different than what we've had many times in our career. And what we're going to do is start over. We're going to hire experts who are going to come into this case with a fresh set of eyes, with an open mind, without any preconceived conclusions, being objective, and wherever the facts go, that's where the investigation will go. We've been hired, and we're going to give our time to petition the court to get permission to exhume the body of Stephen. We're going to have to show good cause to the court why they should do it, because in our state, like in every other state, people who have died have rights. They don't end when their heartbeat stops. And Stephen has a right not to have his grave disturbed, as do other people who are buried. And so we're going to have to petition the court, show facts that would indicate that a fresh set of eyes, a new autopsy may yield a different conclusion, that Stephen was not killed on Sandy Run Road in Bamberg County, that maybe he was killed somewhere else. And if we get that permission, Ronnie and I are going to supervise and oversee the exhumation process, making sure it's respectfully done. You have to have a funeral director there. There has to be protocol in place to make sure that the remains are not disturbed any more than they should be, and do it in a respectful fashion. And hire investigators who are going to go back and do a Stephen Smith 2.0. This is not a Alex Murdaugh 2.0 or any Murdaugh 2.0. This is a Stephen Smith 2.0. It's all about Stephen. And what we intend to do is look at his life. Look at the life 90 days before July 8th, 2015. Look at who he was associating with. Who were his friends? What kind of communications did he have? What were his plans? We knew that he was a nursing student and obviously wanted to become a doctor. We think a lot of the pre-death communications can be relevant. We also think that post-death communications on different people could yield some information. One of the things that we can do is start a civil suit to look at the cause of death, which would give us subpoena power as well as discovery rights under the South Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure. But all those are decisions that are going to be made down the road. The first decision, it has to be made by a judge. And hopefully a judge will see that we have good cause to open Stephen's death. We think that he did not die on that road that fateful night. We think that there was other reasons and other causes that caused his death. Our job is not to find out who did it. That's not what we do. We're not law enforcement. We're not doing a criminal case. We're helping in an investigation, and what we're really trying to do is give a mother answers. Parents should never have to witness children dying before them, and Sandy has witnessed that. And for 8 years, all she has is questions. And we're very grateful for law enforcement for what they've done so far to date on this case. We know that in September 2021, they opened the investigation. Sorry, I'm jittery. I had my knee replaced, so I'm trying to get comfortable. But in September 2021, they opened an investigation into Stephen's death, and we have maintained that SLED should have been and is the proper investigative agency for Stephen's death. And so we intend to share anything that we may find in our own investigation with law enforcement. There's no secret sauce here. There's no intent on us trying to trump anybody. It's our goal that we can all work jointly together.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. We're going to open the floor for any questions. If you want to raise your hand or drop it in the chat or flip off your mic, that all works. The first one that I'm looking at here is, what are the next steps around getting the new investigation moving?
Ronnie?
Yeah, so the immediate next steps would be to petition the court for the right to exhume the body. And on a parallel track, we'll be reaching out to experts in the field who've done this before, who've performed autopsies on bodies, that are several years old, like Stephen. So hopefully by the time we get the permission of the court, granted we get the permission of the court, we'll be engaging with experts who are qualified in this field to examine a body like Stephen's and still be able to come up with some forensic answers for what happened that day. It's important that I say today as well that part of this presser is an appeal to the public that, if you have information, if you know information about Stephen, about what you think might have happened, we urge anyone in the public with that type of information to reach out to us and share it. It's going to be hard to open an investigation after 8 years, but it has to start with an examination of his body and an independent determination of the true cause of death, which we don't accept to be vehicular manslaughter.
Thank you, Ronnie. Next question from Andrew Davis. This crime happened a long time ago now. Do we know what can actually be found during an autopsy now? What is still viable and what information or evidence may be difficult to recreate or find?
I'll take that. I think that the forensic experts will be able to determine if indeed he was struck by an automobile. Certainly there would be marks on his body from a bumper of a car or a hood. To our knowledge, there was only shoulder up injuries, which would indicate that he wasn't struck by a bumper of a car. They'll be able to determine fractures that would indicate if somebody was projected being hit by a car, if he was really hit in the back of the head with blunt force. I know they've indicated they thought it may have been a mirror from a truck, how far he would be projected. You guys saw in the murder trial, so much can be done with technology and computer simulation and measurements. And certainly the technology that exists today didn't exist in 2015. We all learned about the importance of phone mapping, and we intend to go back and look at phones, look at where they were, who he spoke to, who spoke to him. Stephen had to live a secret life. There's no question about it. Being young and gay in the Low Country was not an easy thing to do. It's not easy today. Certainly wasn't easy in 2015. He didn't hide it. He was proud of being gay. However, he had to be cautious. And people that have to be cautious have to be secretive. And so we're going to try to break down some of those secret walls. Sandy herself would like to know some things that she suspects. But, Stephen had to live a very secret, careful life. And we have to break down those walls.
Thanks, Eric. Next question comes from Bristow Marchant. How much money has been raised for the exhumation, and what specifically will that money go toward? The exhumation itself, legal costs, etc.
Mandy?
Oh, Mandy, your mic's off.
Your mic.
Okay, I'm back on. Hey, I don't know the exact cost of an exhumation or anything, but I can also just assure everyone I've known Sandy for 4 years now, and the only thing this woman wants is answers. And I can guarantee you that she is going to put every penny to getting answers toward her for her son to get justice, because that's all that she's wanted all along. There's no reason for speculation. And another thing I've noticed, like a lot of the people asking questions about where the money's going aren't the ones who are donating. So I believe, Eric, you should probably know where, do you know how much an exhumation costs and all that?
Yeah. An exhumation can cost anywhere between $10,000 and $25,000. You saw in the murder trial that expert witnesses can charge up to $600, $700 an hour. They're some of the world-renowned people, and we want to get the best of the best. We're going to find out who's the best at this. And if they're out of state, they're going to charge for their travel time, and they charge a daily rate. And sometimes that daily rate can be anywhere between $5,000 and $7,500. So we can assure everyone the money is not going to Bland Richter. We're not charging legal fees to petition the court and oversee this process. That is what we are contributing. We would have done this sooner. We were willing to donate our time, but we didn't have the money. And these costs are expensive. You saw it in the murder trial, and that's why that was so good, because the public got to see expert witnesses do consume a lot of the trial budget. And in this case, not only are we going to need the forensic pathologist, but we're going to need investigators and people who can specialize in accident reconstruction. Ronnie and I have trucking cases all the time, and an accident reconstructionist can cost anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. So let's not have the dollars stop coming. There'll be full transparency on this money, I can assure you. Any questions that you want where it will go, we will show you where the money will go. It's going to go to be poured into this case. And look, at the end of the day, it may be that it was a vehicular manslaughter. That's still a crime. That's still somebody that's driving around in the state today who hit and killed a young man and didn't stay and take responsibility. We don't think that's going to be the case, but that very well may be the conclusion.
Thanks, Eric. From Blair at Live 5. If the court does not give permission to exhume Stephen's body, where does that put this investigation?
Ronnie?
Well, we hope that's not going to happen, Blair. We think we have good cause to show why a fresh set of eyes on this would be beneficial. Obviously, it would be a significant setback. Yes, we could still hire investigators to go back and kind of recreate the steps, look back at those communications that Eric talked about, see if we can find some fresh new leads. But it kind of has to start with a fresh new look at the body and an independent determination of that cause of death. And as Eric said, it may be that investigation is confirmatory of what's already been said about the cause of death. We don't think that's true. We, as a native South Carolinian, if you don't know someone in South Carolina, if you haven't struck a deer in South Carolina, you know someone who has. And this is a terrible analogy, but if you strike an animal on a highway in South Carolina, vehicular debris is everywhere. And the fact that Stephen's body is apparently placed in the middle of the roadway and there's no debris of any kind present really leads us to believe that that is not what caused his death. So I don't care if it's the mirror, the bumper, what part of the car might have struck him. It just makes no sense to us that he could be struck in that fashion badly enough to cause his death and there be no vehicle debris of any kind whatsoever. So we hope by presenting this to the court that they will see that there is good cause shown why an exhumation is proper in this circumstance. And that is the key part of the investigation.
Yeah, don't forget, Ronnie, that Stephen had loose shoes on. So if you're hit by a vehicle that's going fast enough, that's going to project you, your shoes are just going to fall off under the best of circumstances. His were loose and untied. So it's almost inconceivable that his shoes didn't come off. So those are all reasons. Additionally, I think that the fact that there's so much public interest in supporting Sandy's cause of trying to find out really what happened, I would find it hard to believe that a judge would take the position, no, we don't want to give a grieving mother, the answers that she's looking for.
Thank you, Eric. Eric, I've got a question from Forrest. Eric, you said that Stephen Smith did not die on Sandy Run Road. Is there a theory that he was killed somewhere else and taken there?
Yeah, that's been the theory advanced all along by Mandy, by Liz, by many other people, not only just the close circle of people that are on this phone call. Everybody believes that, if you look at all the attending circumstances, leaving a wallet in the car, nobody would leave their wallet in a car unlocked, and the ability to steal it, especially if he ran out of gas. And, people open their gas caps, which lets the police know that they ran out of gas. When I was younger, we laughed about this on our podcast. We used to have antennas on our hood of our car. And if your car broke down, you put a white t-shirt or a white washcloth up there to signify that your car broke down. Stephen would have taken his wallet to get gas. Stephen would have made a phone call or two, or tried. I know everybody says, look, we're out in the country and there's, inconsistent cell coverage. But Stephen would have made a phone call and tried. So there's going to be evidence of making a phone call. All of these things lead us to believe, in addition to Stephen's careful nature that he took in his everyday life because of his lifestyle, we don't think he would be walking down a road, on a country road, when there was a quicker way for him to get home, and he knows the area. He would have done it in a way that he wouldn't have been seen. Sandy, do you have anything you want to add to that?
He would, Stephen would, if he did have to walk home, he would have walked through the woods, and there was a cornfield right there. He would walk through that. He would have made sure that he was not seen by anyone. He would do that to his dad and sister. He would hide and make them find him.
Would he have left his wallet in his car, Sandy?
No, he would not have. And he would have called his sister at least, because she was the closest to the house or to where the car was.
His twin
sister, yes.
Thank you, Sandy, and thank you for being here this morning. Next question's from Catherine. Buster Murdaugh put out a statement for Jim Griffin this morning. Can anyone comment on that?
Yeah, I can comment on that. We've not mentioned Buster's name one time. This is not about Buster Murdaugh. So this is about Stephen Smith. This is about trying to get answers to questions that his mother desperately needs answers for. So there's no reason to discuss Buster Murdaugh, and there's no comment to make back to Buster Murdaugh. We're going to find out, God willing, court willing, what was Stephen Smith's true cause of death. And if it was something other than as has been reported, then we hope at that point in time to re-enlist all the resources of the state of South Carolina to engage in a new investigation and to find real answers to what happened to Stephen.
Yeah, as we believe, Whitney and Ronnie, as we sit here today, Buster is a victim. He lost a mother, a brother, and now his father's in jail. Buster, as we know, has nothing to do with this. And whatever is mentioned in the records, that's what investigators are going to look at. But we have no knowledge at all about Buster or the Murdaughs having anything to do with this right now. We're starting with a fresh set of eyes.
Thanks, Eric. Next question's from Rachel. How many investigators have been hired already? How long will this process take? And are there any dates on the books?
No one has been hired. I've talked to 2 out-of-state pathologists. I've talked to an in-state pathologist and an accident reconstruction person. Everyone's going to be interviewed. It's going to be a joint decision being made by Ronnie and me and Sandy and the whole team, including Mandy and Liz. You know, this could not, again, there's no Bland Richter on the scene unless there was Mandy Matney and Liz Farrell. Their tenacity in digging into this case, not only after the boat wreck, but staying on top of the Stephen Smith case. Remember, the cacophony of sound of the murder case took precedence over the past 2 years. But what you always heard was Liz and Mandy saying, let's not forget about Stephen Smith. So Liz Farrell did a timeline that's absolutely amazing, that predates Stephen's death and postdates it. And Mandy's dogged reporting is just a wealth of information that we intend to share for the investigators. Last night when I was trying to prepare, because I just got retained Friday night, I read one of Mandy's articles, and I mean, it's a tutorial on this case. And I'm not sure that that people who looked in this case looked at it the same way that Mandy did and Liz.
Thanks, Eric. And Jeanette, I'm going to let you unmute real quick if you want to ask your question. And if anyone else has questions, you can also raise your hand or drop it in the chat. We're taking these one by one.
Hi, thank you. And thanks for holding this news conference. I'm wondering, sometimes law enforcement can be loath to partner with citizens, lawyers in investigations like this one, a criminal investigation. Are you anticipating some cooperation? And as far as those electronics go, we know you guys probably have access to Stephen's electronics. Is there anybody in particular who you're looking to subpoena records for in the aftermath of Stephen's death?
Right now, no. We intend to talk with everybody in his orbit, which would be all family members, his sister, obviously, Sandy, friends that'll come forward and tell us, who he would associate with, who he may have been dating at the time. And again, I expect that law enforcement will give us the normal cooperation. Certainly we have developed a good relationship with the AG's office and SLED throughout the Satterfield process. I think that Ronnie and I were instrumental in the Satterfield case in educating SLED and getting them the information they needed to indict Alex. So I think we have a really good working relationship. I certainly have a good working relationship with Creighton Waters. I know that there was a grand jury impaneled on Stephen's death, and it's no longer in session. So whether they will share information with us, I can tell you we will share information with them. Even though it may not be a full two-way street, the more information that we could put on SLED's desk or the AG's desk that we may acquire, and again, that's the word may acquire, I think will be beneficial.
Eric, you said that there was a grand jury impaneled into Stephen's death, so it's no longer active. So does that mean the AG's office has kind of dropped this, or what information do you have about that?
I don't have any information other than they're no longer impaneled. So it means one of two things: that they returned an indictment and the AG is sitting on it, which I highly doubt, or there was just not enough information that was garnered over the past 2 years. Remember, this investigation opened up, according to SLED, based upon a finding of something during the investigation of Alex's murder of Maggie and Paul. We don't know what that is. We don't know what caused it. Mandy, do you have any knowledge of what that could be? You're on mute.
Yeah, I just, a couple things here. And again, I think we just really need to focus on the fact that this is about Stephen, not about the Murdaugh investigation. But with the grand jury, I believe that was the state grand jury, and we're not sure, like the state grand jury does not do murder cases either. So I wouldn't look into that too much about their involvement and what that means. I think what we need to focus on today is that everybody in the media, everybody out there participating in this, y'all have a responsibility and a lot of power to give Sandy Smith, this woman who has been waiting for justice for more than 7 years, to help her. And I believe, after digging into these files and after digging into this investigation for 4 years, I firmly believe that there are many people in Hampton County, South Carolina right now who know what exactly happened to Stephen. And they need to know that this is not going away. And I am so glad that Eric and Ronnie are here to stand behind Sandy and to do all of this, because it's a huge, this is exactly what needs to happen. The spotlight needs to be on Stephen. Stephen's story can stand alone and will stand alone. And somebody said this, and I said this on the podcast, but if either everybody counts or nobody counts, and Stephen counts, and we need to focus on that and move forward and get answers for the Smith family.
Thank you,
Well
Mandy.
said. Well said.
Sandy, this leads into a question for you. Can you tell us what you hope to find and why this is so important to you?
It's important to me because, I mean, I just love my son. And since I couldn't protect him, I'm going to fight for him. I want to thank everyone who's donated and supported us from the beginning. But I hope to find the real reason for Stephen's death and the real why.
Thank you. We've got a couple questions about a different case. We're going to keep this on Stephen. So if you'll keep your questions about Stephen and that particular case, that'd be great. Next question from Rachel. Specifically, what kind of phone data are you seeking to discover?
I'll give this to Ronnie, but first I want to thank you, Whitney, for hosting this. You did an amazing job putting this together within 24 hours, McDuff Communications. So appreciate that. So Ronnie, go ahead, talk about the phone data.
Yeah, I mean, to say we want it all is kind of cliche, I guess, but we do data downloads on devices all the time in litigation. So what we'd be seeking to do on his mobile device is download everything and to track as best we can all of his movements for that period of time leading up to his death, certainly. And as Eric said, take a look back for a period of time and try to find out who were those people that he was in regular communication with. And this will lead us into the investigation. This will be the leads that the investigators need to get into the field and start asking questions about what were his relationships, what were his contacts, who was he talking to, and about what. It's only through getting boots on ground in this fashion and spading through these lines of communication that we can hopefully find that thread that leads us to the real information about Stephen's death. Now again, it's our working assumption that this was not just a hit and run, but that something else happened. Now, if the facts don't bear that out, they don't bear that out. But we don't think that's the case.
Thanks, Ronnie. We're going to take one final question from Dylan. Do you intend to publicize the findings of the investigation?
Yes. This is full transparency here. Just want everybody to know. This is full transparency. We want to be open exactly who we hire. That's not going to be a secret. Obviously, if we do get court permission and in order to exhume, we want to do it in a respectful fashion. We don't want this to be a media circus when the body is exhumed, if it's exhumed. We want to be able to have Stephen examined professionally, appropriately, with the greatest respect, and then reinterred. So the process, just to give a timeline, we expect to have something filed, I would think within a week to 10 days. I want to make sure I'm educated and Ronnie and I are educated properly on what we should put in that petition. The petition is our one chance. This is, it's like M&M, you get one shot, and we want to make this shot count. So the first thing is hiring the right experts, and we'll have that decision made by Wednesday of this week. And then coordinating with them for them to give us some guidance on what are the magic bell words that we want to make sure we cover, so that when we go into court, we give the rightful showing. I'm confident that the court will grant us this permission. Then we have to go through the process of hiring the right funeral director, and where is it going to take place? How is it going to take place? And then contemporaneously, we will have investigators now going through the file. I mean, Mandy and Liz have garnered tremendous amounts of information, not just the normal autopsy photos, but a lot of investigative notes that have already taken place. And remember, there were competing agencies that were investigating this, whether it was Highway Patrol at one time or SLED or some different local law enforcement, so that person who investigates this can look at everything and then give us direction. Ronnie and I have never done this before. So we're learning like we do on most cases. We educate ourselves, and when we open our mouths, hopefully we sound like we know what we're talking about.
Thank you. Any final words, Eric, Ronnie, Sandy, Mandy?
Ronnie?
Yeah, thank you to the public. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the generosity that has brought us to this point. And again, if you have information, please come forward. We need your help. It's going to be essential to this investigation that people talk. So thank you so far. Thank you for Sandy Smith. And we will be completely transparent, as Eric said. As we know things in this investigation, so will you.
Yeah, we will not have closed door hearings. It's not something that we want. Obviously, we can't control that. If the judge orders it, that's up to the judge. Just so you know, during the murder case, I received tremendous input from the public. Ways that they looked at things that I didn't look at, or that Creighton may have not looked at. And I will say this about Creighton Wooders: he was receptive to every piece of information that the public wanted to give him that I received. I know he read it. Some he would say, obviously, I disagree with. And some, as the trial progressed, I knew that he used. So, you know, everybody's got 2 ears, 2 eyes, and a great brain. And collectively, if everybody puts it together, there, like Ronnie said, there are people out there. Sandy has said this. There are people out there, and Mandy has screamed this from the rooftops, in Hampton County, in Colleton County, in Bamberg County, that know things. I mean, people talk, and they know people's lifestyle, and they know things about Stephen that even Sandy doesn't know. And a fact that somebody could think is innocuous or really doesn't count is a great fact when it's matched up with another fact that somebody else may think is innocuous. So our email address is, you can email me at ericbland@blandrichter.com. My phone number is 803-600-7476. Anybody could text me, they could call me. I will take any piece of information.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Final question, which leads us into wrapping up. Where can we expect to see updates? Will they come in the form of press releases from Whitney McDuff? I will speak to this part. We absolutely want the media as allies. We will be giving you all as much information as we have. We are all looking at the same North Star here, which is to find out what happened to Stephen. So we are partners with you all. We want to keep you informed of what's going on, so you can count on us for that. Eric and Ronnie are available. Eric just gave his phone number and his email. Ronnie is Ronnie@blandrichter.com. I am Whitney at WhitneyMcDuff.com. Please reach out to us with any questions. If you want comments, we are absolutely here to help you all. So I wanted to thank everybody for coming today. Great questions. We will be keeping you informed as the investigation progresses, and we hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.